Welcome back to another episode of The Radio Psychs, your premier podcast for insights into everything mental health. I'm Dr. Aaron Haddock.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Yu. We're psychologists who care about people and bringing science to practice.
And we're so glad to have you join us.
Please note that the information shared in this episode is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Today's topic is forgiveness and your mental health.
Forgiveness. It's a topic that can evoke difficult thoughts and feelings because when we think of forgiveness, it's usually linked to memories of being treated unfairly or hurt by another person or group.
And sometimes these hurts can run deep and involve the worst things that happen to us. Being betrayed by someone we love, being traumatized or bullied, being the victim of a crime. I gotta say, forgiveness can be challenging.
Yeah, it's true. It's an ongoing process that can take years and, in some cases, even a lifetime.
Yet, I'm sure we've all heard of striking instances of people forgiving seemingly unforgivable acts.
Definitely. One example that comes to mind is Eva Kor, a Holocaust survivor who publicly forgave the Nazis.
And that's just one of many. And many of these stories of forgiveness seem to underscore how important it is in our lives and how without it, we can become trapped in a cycle of negative emotions.
Yeah. Unforgiveness, as it's sometimes called, can be like an emotional imprisonment that keeps us locked in the past, reliving old events and dwelling on the what ifs and thoughts of revenge and judgment.
And this slow drip of anger and resentment over months and years can be corrosive for our mental and physical health. By choosing forgiveness, we can break this cycle and begin the process of emotional healing.
Okay, maybe now's the time I tell you, I ate some of your lunch this morning.
Okay. Deep breath. I forgive you.
Sweet. Now, while there's no doubt that forgiveness can be a powerful practical tool for improving our mental health, we recognize that it can be hard to do.
Yeah, like when people eat your sandwiches. But as Sumant Kid says in her novel, The Secret Lives of Bees, I learned a long time ago that some people would rather die than forgive. It's a strange truth, but forgiveness is a painful and difficult process. It's not something that happens overnight. It's an evolution of the heart.
So you're saying you haven't fully forgiven me for eating part of your lunch?
Like Kid says, it's not something that happens overnight.
All right. All right, Aaron, moving on. Forgiveness is a big topic. So in this episode, why don't we explore what forgiveness is from a psychological perspective and how it relates to our health and well-being? Then, in a follow-up episode, we can focus on sharing strategies for cultivating forgiveness in our lives.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Why don't we begin by defining it? What is forgiveness?
Forgiveness is defined as a conscious, deliberate decision to let go of resentment and the desire for revenge against those who have wronged us, regardless of whether they truly deserve that forgiveness. It's not a one-time event, but an active, ongoing process that may take years.
And it's equally important to say what forgiveness is not. It's not forgetting or excusing the wrong that's been done, nor is it denying the pain or the seriousness of the offense.
That's right. Forgiving doesn't mean we condone what they did. And while it can help repair a damaged relationship, forgiveness doesn't obligate us to mend the relationship with those who've wronged us, nor does it mean absolving them of legal consequences. It's fundamentally about freeing ourselves from the burdens of anger, resentment, and bitterness.
Exactly. It's a personal liberation and a powerful act of self-care and self-compassion. By choosing to let go of resentment and revenge, even when it's fully justified, we're actually giving ourselves mercy and love.
Absolutely. The primary beneficiary of forgiveness is the forgiver themselves. It's an act of empowerment, really. By consciously letting go of those deep-seated negative thoughts and emotions, we open ourselves up to healing and moving forward.
And while there's debate about whether forgiveness requires us to feel positively towards the offender, the essence lies in letting go of the negativity. It brings peace of mind to the forgiver, freeing them from the corrosive effects of anger.
And it's important to note that forgiveness can take many forms.
That's right. When we think of forgiveness, we usually think about forgiving another person who has wronged us or treated us unfairly. However, we can also forgive ourselves for past mistakes or perceived shortcomings.
That's an important point. Okay, Rondi, let's shift to why it's helpful to practice forgiveness. What's the research say?
Well, it's interesting. Even though psychological research on forgiveness didn't begin in earnest until the 1990s, since then, it has documented numerous powerful ways forgiveness benefits us, as well as our relationships and our communities.
Why didn't it begin until the 90s?
Well, prior to this, forgiveness was primarily seen as a religious topic, and for good reason. It's a key teaching in all major world religions, not just a moral or ethical guideline, but also as a practical approach to resolving conflicts, improving personal well-being, and enhancing spiritual growth.
Ah, I see.
And while each faith brings its own unique perspective to forgiveness, they all seem to converge on the idea that forgiveness is essential for both personal well-being and communal harmony.
This is in line with theorizing in evolutionary psychology that forgiveness is deeply embedded in human nature and may have evolved as a survival mechanism.
It makes sense. Forgiveness fosters cooperation and group harmony and stability, which was essential in early human societies where working together improved survival chances, and it might have also helped avoid prolonged conflicts that could consume vital resources.
Clearly, forgiveness has significant benefits for both individuals and communities.
Definitely. And in terms of our physical health, research has shown that harboring grudges can increase our blood pressure and heart rate, indicators of stress that can harm our bodies over time.
Yeah, in one fascinating study, participants were asked to think about someone who had hurt them. And while they dwelled on these past offenses, their physiological responses were monitored. Blood pressure, heart rate, facial muscle tension, and sweat gland activity.
That's interesting. What were the findings?
So, as participants ruminated on their grudges, their physical arousal spiked dramatically. Blood pressure and heart rate went up, they began to sweat more, and they reported feeling angry, sad, anxious, and less in control.
It's a good example of how our thoughts can impact our physical state.
Exactly. The researchers then guided participants to shift their thoughts toward empathy and forgiveness for their offenders, which led to a decrease in their physical arousal and brought their stress response down to normal levels.
Holding on to grudges can also have profound negative impacts on mental health, significantly increasing the risk of severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder.
And on the other hand, people who are more forgiving tend to report higher levels of life satisfaction.
Right. Research has shown that forgiveness can decrease depression, anxiety, and anger, which contributes to lower overall stress and hostility and leads to reductions in the symptoms of PTSD.
Self-forgiveness also plays a role in our overall health, doesn't it?
It does. A meta-analytic review examining the links between self-forgiveness and health outcomes found that individuals who practice self-forgiveness tend to experience better physical health and psychological well-being. Self-forgiveness can improve our friendships and romantic relationships as well.
Okay, we're out of time, but in our next episode, we'll focus on practical strategies for fostering forgiveness and discuss some compelling research on the transformative effects of implementing these strategies in daily life.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the heart of forgiveness.
If you've enjoyed our discussion today and want to hear more, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and share it with friends.
We'd also really appreciate it if you could rate and review the podcast. It helps more people find us and join our community of listeners.
Your support means a lot to us. Until next time, take care and be well.
Take care and be well. And Aaron, I lied about eating part of your lunch. I ate it all. Forgive me?
Wait, what?